Kitchen. My name's Mr. Bill, and I'm here as a host for today's session. Let's see if I can get the computer to work right. Bill Talbot, multi-year practitioner, I'll just put it that way. And here hosting the ITAM Kitchen to have a little bit more awareness, having fun back and bringing the fun back into ITAM, how we do it. I have a couple of guest speakers, and I've been told there's more on the way, which is going to be great because today's going to be a little bit of a recap of what we've been doing the last 3 weeks. I can't believe we've been doing this over 3 weeks now for every day, and I love it. And it's not about just hearing me talk, right? It's about the collaboration two-way stream. But real quick, let me allow those others right here on the screen. We'll do a little bit of introduction for themselves. Deanna, do you want to kick that off?
Hi, I'm Deanna Hennigar. I've been working with ITSM and ITAM for over 30 years, just like my counterparts here. I really enjoy talking about it, working with it, and training people on it. So, ta-da!
I like it.
Yeah, my name is Alexander Golev. My friends call me Sasha. I've been around software asset management, ITAM, since early 2000s. Can I say 2000s? 2003, 2005? That's a weird thing to say. And as I usually say, there's a way in, there's no way out. So I was one of the original evangelists of software asset management, mostly in Eastern Europe, but then in the Western world as well. Nowadays, I run my own consultancy around this area. So here we are. And this project, I'm sorry, Bill, to step a bit into the limelight, was our combined idea for Bill. But it was, we came up with it together.
Yeah, and from that, it's spawning a movement by itself.
Amazing. I'm looking at you, and I'm stunned because a little bit disclosure. We wanted to make them daily, and Bill liked it so much. He's live, sorry, not daily, weekly, but he's now daily live on YouTube. Almost like there's a news program on the daily which you always can turn on, and something will be there. This is what this channel is right now. You absolutely know that Bill is live.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. The sun comes up on on the east, and Bill is live at 10 o'clock Eastern.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm waking up as the Pacific coast of the U.S. is. I'll just add that one, right? It's 7 o'clock Pacific time. But really today, we've had a lot of topics last couple of weeks. A lot of topics. And today was really about, okay, let's recap a little bit where we've been. Because I'll be honest, there's a lot that we've covered in a very short period of time, a lot of activities, right? In a lot of different parts. But I also want to say, okay, it wasn't just me talking. I wanted to hear also from those of actually, they've been I'm on the outside, but they're also here presenting in addition, right? Not shy. I've been told Mr. Collins may join us as well shortly, which is great. Or anybody, there's a few of us that have the link, so it's like, okay, join in. Because this is about the collaboration. We want to talk about how we make this, because this is a movement. I'll just be brutally honest. Because how do you start a movement? You start a movement by just starting something and moving that forward. And how do we drive that? Is we drive it by talking, consistency, how we show up, sharing information, having others collaborate with us. So as we get started, two things. Yeah, you're good, Robert. If you're on the chat, say where you're from. And as you're putting that in there, I'm gonna have Robert introduce himself real quick. The last person here so far to join us, and then we'll just kick it right off and just talk. Just like I said, we're going to talk about what we've learned the last couple of weeks. So go for it, Robert.
Yeah, we'll do. Let's see. Well, I'm Rob Collins. I've got 30 plus years, really, if you count my military experience in the Marines, in so much as asset management goes. And then 24 years in government service. And then I've even done close to 5 years within the private sector. And there I am in a nutshell.
It's interesting you talk about things you did before. I always say 30 years. That's really when I started doing the true asset management. But I hadn't thought about it. Every once in a while, it reminds me. I started actually doing asset management like in 1990. I was at Iowa State University. Here's a little story for you to help to figure out, okay, how do you sometimes walk into stuff you never realize it? I took the second job I was working for. At that point, it's called administrative data processing. That was the computer. That was the computer technology we had at Iowa State. That's what we called it. And we were doing this thing, installing new PCs and printers, and I think the LaserJet 2 had just come out, things like that. And one of the things my boss did, he says, okay, I want you to put these labels on everything you can see. It's going to be our asset tag. It's like, huh?
Right.
Yeah, right. We even put on diskettes. We had 3.5-inch diskettes. Even on the diskettes, we didn't know what we were doing. It's like making a spreadsheet. That's how we started. But to your point, sometimes you don't realize when you get started in the industry where you end up, right? It's like asset management. Now I do stuff like this. But there you go. But anyways, it's interesting, and not to compete or anything. We all have different levels of experience where we came from, right? It's interesting how we started that journey, and I want to have an entire session in the next couple of weeks on that. Let's talk about how we have our journey for those new folks coming in. Talk about, okay, how do we get started? How do we really get what's really fueling us? Things like that. So that's forthcoming. I'm just a topic forthcoming on that. But really, what I want to talk about is where we've been, because we start on. If you look at it, and everything's on LinkedIn as well as on YouTube. This whole purpose of this is make a YouTube channel. That was how we started, right? And Sasha, you and Jeremy helped get me started on that. And say, okay, let's have a dialogue.
Good.
Let's move forward, right? And from there, kind of kick it off with lots of different rants that we had as far as topics and discussions we started there. But it's interesting as we move forward, because we're talking about kind of what's the secret sauce of ITAM. It's collaboration with people, right? And how we look at that. And it's about the communications and also strategizing amongst each other. I mean, some things you want to be public, some things you want private. That's the way it is. But it's being able to start from there and say that visibility, because that's how we actually gain our own confidence and gain trust. Great trust in ourselves, being able to say, okay, we're confident enough to be here and present. I mean, little did I know I'm going to be on video and doing this when I started doing this. I started the co-op like back in 2020, right? And yeah, because I have an entire co-op in the background, et cetera. But I've now done more video than I've done my entire life. That's the crazy part, isn't it? Even doing this every day, because it's equivalent to like a webinar. I've now done more of these since this year in 2026, and I've done webinars for the last 5 years, 5 to 6 years. Just because I show up every day, right? Have the topics, that dialogue. But this dialogue, I'll say ad hoc to a degree, because we have fun with that too. It's interesting how we all come together because we're all very aligned. But let me shut up for a minute. I want to go round robin and see what everyone else thinks so far, because, oh my gosh, like I said, I don't think you're going to be able to shut us up for the next hour. And if more people with the links have come in, so they've been presenters, hey, come on in, guys. Let's talk about this. So whoever wants to start, make it happen.
Well, I can start if you want.
Go.
No, Deanna, I'll let you do it.
Ladies first.
This morning when I went to church, I was talking to the deacon who knows I need a job. Because, yes, I looked at your LinkedIn profile. You have too many things out there. I'm going, no, that's just one job. Okay. The software, the asset management, the hardware, the SACM, it's all one job. And we took some road to get through all of them to get to today. And that's why we have the ability to discuss it.
Wait, I love that. I imagine you get a quote on that one. That's an awesome one.
Yeah.
Go for it, Robert.
Yeah, well, hopefully we're going to be doing a session on that specifically here in the near future. So that's going to be something to watch for, especially, because the environment right now is tough, especially for folks trying to do jobs, have work, that have this experience in a specialized area that, there's a lot of promise for, let's say, for instance, AI to come in and assist with that. But, all tools can be leveraged in many different ways, some good, some not so good. But what brought me to Bill in the ITAM kitchen was this struggle, for instance, and understanding within the industry around the difference between an asset management database and a configuration management database. It's one of those things. On the positive side, I can say I'm really passionate about that. And then on the other side of that, I'm like, it gets me really itched up. It's a pedantic thing. It's like, wait, no, that's not right. You know, they're two separate. And I understand where we are in the industry and how that operational thinking has been sort of promulgated everywhere, and it comes out of the tool manufacturers. But we're hoping that we're going to bring some clarity to that soon. And as it turns out, I think I got a speaking engagement. It's going to be in Vegas. I think it's going to be in May, so I'm prepping for that.
Nice.
Yeah. We'll pass it over to Alexander or Sasha.
Sasha, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Both work. Sasha is just friendlier. I'm just enjoying this new crowd, which some of you I met, the cohort around Bill, 3 times, I think, at least, in person. And I'm learning a lot because I'm across the pond. I'm in the UK. And I'm learning a lot as well from these lives, not only about the struggles of the of ITAM, but also slight cultural differences between how things are done on this side of the pond and in the United States, and the language and the problems, the way work is done, which is different. And in general, I'm happy that we finally have a dedicated YouTube channel, because there are none otherwise. Yeah. So there are ITAM experts and software management experts on YouTube, and we were, I wouldn't claim we were the first. I mean, my channel 5 years ago. Since then, 2 or 3 more popped up. Some people that are very old to this industry, like Martin Thompson, tried to maintain his own channel. I don't think he's still doing that. And we needed that. We needed our own, ITAM TV. So, so thanks to Bill, who really burns with this idea. And so far, so good. All the conversations were they were eye openers, and some of the topics that were brought up as well. Again, AMDB versus CMDB. Suddenly, everybody's talking about it. Not just here, but for some reason, it's a big thing right now. What else to say? I mean, good luck. Let's see what it goes.
It is, and one of the things I did out of that, right, is I created an entire playbook. As a playbook perfect on that topic, as an example. But that's where I was able to say, okay, how can we better communicate to get this dispersed out there?
I'm going to advertise you, Bill. So you again, we never should make a mistake that some people watching this video, they've seen the previous one, so they know where we are. So let me comment on this. Bill Talbot is also present, as many of us as well, on LinkedIn. And what he does is he actually writes a long form, comprehensive articles based on the subjects we discuss here. So if you want to learn by reading in addition to learning by watching, make sure you check his profile on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Still learning how to communicate. That's part of this, right?
After 5 years on YouTube, you'll learn that it comes naturally.
Naturally, yeah,
exactly. But I think it's been interesting, the whole journey, because we've had talk about some of the nuances we have in the industry, but also we've talked about the job hunt, AMCD, CMDB. Okay, how do you work AMCD versus CMDB in the different part? That went for 3 episodes alone, and I keep expanding, right? Navigating the job market, which we're not done with. We just hit the cusp of how we're doing it. Actually, our next one's going to be Monday, right? Yeah. And Deanna and Rob are going to help me with that on Monday. We're going to have some interesting dialogue about the job search, right? That's forthcoming. Also, another one, like the job strategy, what I had for a job strategy, also what your strategy is within your own organization, or as your roadmap, create that roadmap. Worked on some things like that. I mean, again, we're hitting core topics, but what we're finding out of this, and like the AMDB, CMDB, I'm going to go back to that. We found out, okay, about it, they're different, but they're similar as they need to be. But it's also about being more collaborative and being able to say, okay, how can we better align to have the team on the same page? Right? Because, I mean, for example, ServiceNow has a CSDM. Great, awesome. I'm not saying you shouldn't follow it. You should, because that's how you have to get through that part.
Oh, yeah.
That may not work for everything. You're going to do your best. And again, I'm not saying it doesn't, it does or doesn't, right? But it's more about, okay, that's a framework to start from. But if you're running a different technology, say non-ServiceNow, where do you sit with that? How can you work on some of the nuances? Because ServiceNow may not be your tool. I'm just going to do a mic drop right there. It may not be your tool, right? How you work with other technologies. That's what we're talking about. What's the strategic part and pulling it across? Again, I'm not saying CSDM is not great across the board. I'm kind of getting a little bit of mixed messages there, but it's more about what are you using? How can you move forward? I take the old consulting view with all of this, right? I'm not here to know all the answers. Don't expect everyone online at any point in time to know the answers. But it is about sharing of information to say, okay, how do we further expand, right? Expand how we share information, how we put that next step. That's where the excitement is. It's the people aspect. Because it's not about, I was just talking to a potential customer just this week. I said, my goal is not to do the job for you. I'll do some tasks to help you get going, et cetera. I'll oversee it. That's great. But I'm here to help enable you so the light bulb goes on and you can go ahead and do it yourself.
Yeah. That was a good session, by the way.
Yeah. Because when you look at that and think about the helping mentor people, that's where the magic is. Deanna, you're here.
Oh, I love it.
Right?
Yeah. I'm an adult educator. And seeing the light go on is also very important, but also when all of a sudden their face stops draining or it starts to drain, you also have to know when to stop the information, give them a chance to adjust to the information before you pile on the next. It's called chunking and sequencing. We all do it. And that's very important to get our educational ducks in a row, but unless you're in education, you don't necessarily realize that.
Yep.
And people do appreciate. One of my big things I don't like is when you go to a job, they do show and tell. Hey, this is how you do it, and then they walk away. That's not training. When you train somebody, you get more retention. You're asking them more questions. You're double checking on what they're doing, and say, "Oh, this is how it works." Well, and then walk away. You need to practice with them hands on. So.
Practical app sessions.
Yeah, lab sessions, collaboration, even testing. Testing is so important, but you don't teach to the test, but you test for what they need to do in the field.
Yeah.
All those use cases I always consider those the success criteria.
Yep.
Right. We're doing that. So definitely, I mean, we're training. We'll do an entire session on that because I think it's important to talk about the testing as well as the training, right? And that's some of the offhand conversation we've been having as we're setting all these up. I'll be brutally honest. So some of the most powerful discussions we're having isn't just here on screen that you're seeing, everyone's seeing right now. It's the offsite. That's the offline conversations, how we put it in place. But here's what we're thinking about the ITAM kitchen. Here's where we're going that next step, right? We've got some chatter happening out there too, which is great. Please provide comments.
That's good.
It's being able to say, what else do you need? What else do we need to talk about? Do you want to collaborate? Again, this is the opportunity to actually have a voice, because you do have a voice. Too often when we get a degree or certification or something, we get pigeonholed into corners. Drives me crazy, right? And the reality is, I want you to be able to enjoy your role, whatever it is, for 30 years like I have.
Yeah.
That's the underlying message of all this. right? That's about the collaboration and having fun. But what have we been learning the last couple of weeks? Okay, how to talk to executives.
Yeah.
Go there, right? And some of the ideas behind that, how to Rennie came on, right? Rennie came on and she was talking about, okay, how she's looking at the career and stop counting boxes and talking about value. She talks about customers. That's great. You had Chad come on. We had a topic that I don't think anybody in the industry's hit before in our area. How do you use ADHD to help enhance what you do at work, your roles? And Chad will be back. I just saw him yesterday. We're still with.
Okay.
You're going to be back, and there's lots of additional topics behind that because drilling into that's actually very important. You know what the most important part about that, and you probably saw the dialogue between Chad and I happening, is to say, how are you more accepting of the other person on the side to make sure you're connecting with that message? Or how do you have to change your communication? Things we don't learn. I mean, this is not, our PhD in this area did not come from schooling.
Right.
School of hard life, right? Yeah.
Lumps.
So with that, when it comes to some of the additional parts, I know in the last couple of days, we've talked about job descriptions, pieces like that. What else comes to mind, Rob, Deanna, that you've seen over the last 3 weeks that's really helped reinvigorate you? I'll put it that way, to say, okay, I want to be part of this.
Well, the application of AI, for instance, within the role that we're in, has been one that was really good, and some of the use cases that came from that was very helpful. In addition to that, was the guide bill that you'd published. That was a really great starting point if you have to consider introducing that into the organization and who to talk to, who to sell. Just the silos, for instance, that you had mentioned, and stakeholders. Immediately for me, that sparked how would I take a message and now tailor that to the CFO, to CEO, to the CIO, et cetera, or any of those, people in charge of purchasing, right? And so for me, that wasn't just an eye opener, but it was also really inspirational as well.
Okay, cool. Excellent. Because that's what's all I did. I love the word you used, inspire, right? And my it's a self-inspiration, right? That you look at. My purpose is to provide a little bit of nugget to actually help you just ignite that. That's it. Because from that, you are the power plant. You generate the energy. One of my great coaches does that, right? And he talks about that all the time. We have to figure out, okay, how do we get that spark? How do we keep that lit? How do we move that forward? And if that little information like that, as far as those publications are helping with that, Rob, you're welcome. That's all I have to say. Part it's not egotistical either. What about you, Deanna? What comes to mind?
I don't know. I was just thinking, I don't even know what I was thinking about right now. You're going to have to come back to me.
Oh, she's stunned. I love it.
I'll find another thing to think about. I just really love asset management. I love all the complicated parts there are to it, as well as all the simple parts to it. And the complicated parts they're not necessarily complicated, but every time you step into a new environment, because everybody's done it so differently, because no two companies are going to be the same, that's what makes it complicated for us. Even though we've been in for years, the first thing we have to do is we have to stop, look, and listen. What is going on? Then we go to the apply, and then the negotiation, and then hopefully we get on the same sheet of music and we perform. Mm-hmm. And it's all personality at some point in time, no matter what you know. Yeah. And it's learning how to work with the people and their personalities and their positions of themselves without throwing anybody under the bus and without getting yourself in trouble. And you can even go in the meetings and see how they're not cooperating with each other, or if they are, who likes each other, who doesn't like. And the ego part is very fun thing to work with.
And something to contribute to Deanna's point, especially, and it calls an experience that I had, which made things really great in ITAM. It wasn't being taken seriously, new organization, But there were issues with discovery, for instance, and it was through collaborating with engineers that we came up with a series of PowerShell scripts that would go ahead and run the entire network and bring back all the baseboard information. And that hadn't been done before, certainly not in the organization. But once that was done, it was optimized and tuned up and became sort of its own feature in and of itself, which had a high degree of trust. So that was one of those beautiful experiences within the ITAM career I've had, Dana, to your point, that occurred.
Yeah. Even working with, working with the outside consulting company, and if you don't have a strong enough team inside, the consulting company is going to pretty much run over whatever you've already had, whether you agree with it or not. So having a strong team is very helpful. Don't sit on the sidelines going, oh, they did something wrong. Hey, I don't know if that fits into what I'm looking for. And you have to speak up.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I do enjoy the challenge.
Well, the other thing I remember very distinctly, Deanna, with you and I talking, I can't remember if it was on screen or off screen, is also because your focus, where you actually work, your core focus is you start at the end.
Yep. I started.
Right. You start at the end and say, which is great. We all have our specialties. And I think that speaks volumes of what we do, because each one of us, we have a different area of focus, which is great because it's not about us knowing the answers. We know the answer to what we're doing, but that's also something you've heard me talk about if you've seen anything I've done online. It's like, work on what you're really good at, what you really enjoy, because this whole space, there's so much out there, you can't do it all.
No.
Right.
Like I said, but when you looked at my LinkedIn, I said, no, that's all the different things that only pertain to ITAM. Everything I have out there is only for ITAM right now. I don't have any of my ITSM out there any longer. Yeah, so.
Sasha,
can I pick on something that Diana said that maybe not directly related to what we're discussing? You said I'm passionate about ITAM, like almost fanatical. I don't remember the exact words you used. I have a story related to that. When I moved to London from where I was before and many different places, finally decided to settle in the United Kingdom. To settle here, it's not easy. So you have to have a visa and go through all the kinds of hoops. I needed a job. And for that job, I needed to, first of all, rediscover myself and decide who I am, because I did lots of other things in my life. And when I thought, it's an actual story, I thought, okay, I want to pursue software asset management. And I needed a new CV. And I found a local English CV consultant and sent him my CV draft, which in the first lines had a tagline, I'm passionate about software asset management. He made a few corrections, sent it back to me and said, but please delete this bullshit that you're passionate about software asset management. No sane person is passionate about software asset management. And I replied, mate, buddy, dude, Foxtrot Oscar, I am. So I am passionate. And people don't get it. Like, how can you be passionate about it? Because it's exciting. You just never tried it. As I don't know whether I ever said this on this live. There's a joke from my childhood. One man says to another, you know what? I really, really dislike cats. And his buddy replies, it's just because you don't know how to cook them properly. That is our passion about ITAM, I guess. And that is why this is why this channel exists.
Yep.
Crazy people.
Yep. And we fill the role well.
Yes, we do. All walks of life. All walks of life. So as we're continuing, you're hearing us talk about what we've learned the last couple of weeks. But if you've been watching the last couple of weeks and you're in the chat, please write what you've learned.
We have comments coming in.
I see some of those.
Eva wrote, I'm passionate about software asset management. I've said the same thing since the 90s. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. It's that. It's the passion. And the one thing we found, Deanna, Rob, and I, and actually, yeah, we were talking about this with Patrick Duffy yesterday a little bit too. It's interesting. We all have a similar goals, that we all have experience, and organizations are struggling to see how they can leverage our experience. So yesterday we were talking about job descriptions, things like that, right? And we're going to continue on that. We determined we're going to do that a couple times a week. Not every day. We're not going to burn out the topic. We might when it's finished, but we'll continue on that dialogue and we'll make that happen. So you're going to see an agenda for the next month this weekend. Monday, worst case, but yeah, we're going to have something come out. But because we're going to continue on that dialogue, because we just touched the surface of that yesterday. But my point is, when it comes to understanding what we really love to do, really is dependent upon the person. It really is. For example, I can tell you stuff like this and do facilitation all day long. You get me in the nooks and crannies about how you're doing software licensing and all the compliance stuff. I was like, I know Sasha I can refer to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Throwing friends in the right places.
Yeah.
But you were trying to say something. Go for it. Oh, I thought you were saying this. No, okay. I read the message wrong. It's okay. It happens.
It's okay.
But you think about, even when we were talking about just how we do decision making, how we help with the decision making. Rob, you were talking about from the executive, that standpoint. These are tasks and ideas. How are we moving forward? We hit this every day, and we hit our heads against the wall. We beat our heads against the wall nonstop, and we don't know where to go and ask, right? And there's some things you're not going to want to go live on. And some of those topics, absolutely, and trust me, that's the whole purpose behind the co-op, is we can actually do that behind closed doors. So we have to be around peers to do that. And that's the whole purpose behind the co-op. That we started back in 2020. Oh my gosh. It's not Facebook. It's not LinkedIn. It's literally a separate community for doing nothing but that. But we think about some of the players, not players, but some of the individuals and participants we've had in the last couple of weeks. I talked about Rennie, put on some of that. Talked about Chad, and then we keep going. Actually, my entire printout's not here. That's great. Sometimes you don't realize what you're going to do, and so you do it on the fly. And the technology hasn't always worked perfectly, so we've had to improvise along the way, right?
Yep.
And that's been the best part, is how do we further work with what we have? How often are things, we're ready to make it happen, we're ready for that presentation, or you're ready for the Zoom call, power goes out.
Yeah.
You do it on your phone, right? Yeah. And there you go. Or shoot, how many webinars have I done over the years in a rental car? That's right. Sometimes we are have all these technologies that we just don't know what we're going to do. But the thing I'm loving about this is the passion I see everyone else come back as far as the fun. And keep in mind, when I first started, if you look at the original session that Sasha and I did with Jeremy, I put the fun back in the ITAM. That's the overall goal. Seeing, and I want everybody's comment on this. Actually, I'll ask this question before I say it. What are your thoughts about putting the fun back in ITAM as far as what you've seen within the ITAM kitchen? Go ahead and pipe up. Go for it.
Sure. Some of that, for instance, has to do with the subject matter, right? Most people, like to Sasha's point, not being very passionate about this thing. Yeah, but there are people that are passionate about, different topics, genres, animals, cooking, etc. And so for those of us that have been in here doing the work, doing the puzzle solving, to Deanna's point, which is a great way to put that, there's the community overall. Everybody has a set of talents, right? Some of them typically are going to overlap, but often you're going to find, and your point, Bill, that if you needed somebody with a specific bit of knowledge, Sam, all right, then you've got a person or several people to go to. So the point that I'm making is this is one wonderful place to start building community, or maybe it's better said, define members within the community with the commonality of ITAM practice or overlapping ITSM, InfoSec, et cetera, right? And at least have a place that people know they can go to. Come in, sit down, have a cup of coffee, get a briefing, get some ideas, be inspired, right? If you have that, then whenever somebody in the profession comes up and they say, I have a problem, I have a pain point, and I don't know how to get through it, then you can reach out to that community, either in a group session or you reach out to those individual connectors and you say, who do you know? How can I do this? What's the approach? So that's really the point that I'm making. And I'm really interested in seeing how ITAM Kitchen is going to grow over, let's say, the course of the next year. There are other similar communities, but one of the problems I see with those is often it's just an advertisement session of vendors coming in. ITAD is like everywhere. And that's really all it is. It's a half hour or an hour where that person's trying to convince me that ITAD's important. That's great, but that's not really why I'm in that group. I know why ITAD is important. My challenge is making it so that I can sell ITAD to somebody if I'm going to consult. So around that sense of community, that's it. I'll leave it there. And I guess, Deanna, you're next.
Yeah. Well, what I like about that is in a group like this, we understand we have a focus, but because we've been in our jobs or in industry for so long, we also have experienced all those other jobs where people have been working. Each one of us has been this or that, and we built up to get to here. So we recognize when there's a hole because we've already worked on those positions.
Exactly.
Okay, and so when we go to a director and say, we do know that we're having a problem. Well, when I worked it a few years ago, we had to resolve that problem, and we have resolved, and it's our ability with our higher order thinking skills why we have the ability to do this. We care. That's where the passion is. That's
absolutely. It's that passion we want to continue to drive. Sasha, I know you said you need to get going. Did you want any last comments before we jump
off? Subscribe to this channel. That's my last comment. Yeah, support Bill. He's a wonderful human being doing wonderful things. So and I'll certainly join the next events. As long as I'm invited. Thank you. Thanks everyone. Fantastic community.
All over. We just got coming in. Daniel's coming in from Ecuador. So I mean, oh my gosh. That's awesome, right?
I have a question for Danielle. And that is, how big is ITAM within the Latin American space? And you can answer it in the chat or answer online, offline. That's just fine. Reach out, because I'm really interested in where that's expanded, especially in Central and Latin America.
No, absolutely. And that's the global presence. And to your point, actually, let's go down that point, because we haven't even talked about expanding it. Go beyond is one thing I learned. It's easy for us, especially because we're all U.S. based. Everybody right here. We had Sasha, he's from the UK, so it's some outside exposure on that side. But one thing I learned, and I learned this was HP. At HP, I had a global role there, about 80 consultants globally, et cetera. And they weren't direct reports. We were all dotted lines trying to help enablement, et cetera. But when I had that global awareness, that's kind of where you're heading there, Rob. That global awareness, I looked at asset management entirely different. There's one thing to say, okay, I know asset management and I'm in Europe. That's different than asset management in the US.
Yeah.
The different asset management in the US is very similar to how it is in Canada. It's very similar, actually. Some nuances because you have some English influence, right? But my point is, when you start seeing the different perspectives, the growth that we have and how we look at our entire careers and who we talk to and how we talk to and how we present our solutions, entirely different. And that's the other part I want to provide with this channel and awareness. I've primarily been working on the US. I have. It's nothing negative. It's within the market. Ecuador, that's awesome. I'm not trying to exclude anybody from being part of this. actually, if anything, I want you to help contribute. I'd love to hear your stories. So if you want to be able to present on something like that, hey, bring it up. DM me and say, okay, let's have some time to make that happen. That's what I want this to do. I want to. This is a movement.
Yes.
And the best thing you do is you get that drive, thrive, the fun aspect into it. People want to join it. That's the whole idea behind this. Are we going to get it perfect? Oh, heck no, but we never have. But that's where the imperfection is actually what helps drive our conversations.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and the point to build something to add to what you're making is that one of those phases, for instance, of maturity is that optimization and that continuous improvement, right? Where you're always measuring, you're always seeking information, and you're always making sure things are at their absolute most correct so that you can make the business decisions. Same thing in this practice, that spirit of continuous improvement is key to moving forward.
Exactly. And I always have this motto. Actually, it came from Walt Disney. If anybody's seen the Robinsons movie, from Meet the Robinsons back in Walt Disney, those movies, there's a quote right at the end of it. It's about keep moving forward. Yeah. No matter what, just keep moving. It doesn't matter how much of a struggle you had, keep moving forward, right? And that's what this is all about. Because I'll say, even for me, I've been told by some individuals, I'll say, in my area, in this area, by others, like, you don't want to do that. We've already done it. It didn't work. There you go.
Good point.
Yeah. But it's again, I'm not trying to prove anybody wrong. I'm just going after my own passion, and I want everyone else to do that too, right? Because when you think about the topics the last couple of weeks, okay, we talked about, to your point, AI. How can you look at AI from multiple different angles? We haven't even talked about AI in the workplace. Is when the workplace, in this case, is part of finding a job, right? We're going to talk about a little bit of that on Monday, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of one of the topics we're going to talk to. Is like, okay, how do we make it so it actually catches, or how do we work within the system? Because honestly, for me, and you can say call it a little arrogant if you want. Somebody really wants to talk to me. Is they say, "Oh, let's submit it via the system in this online system." I said, "No." Mm-hmm. They go, "What do you mean?" It's like, I need to have a conversation. I want to make sure I lace the line with the team before I even bother with that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not how we work. It's like, okay, it's too bad.
You're lazy.
Well, that's exactly the point, because I want to know the dialogue like this, and we can bring this on Monday. But that's where I go, even with leveraging AI, because AI, and we have heard it multiple times. You brought it off on, I think, offline for all of us. Patrick brought up online, we were talking about a couple of weeks ago. AI is excluding the real folks that can help.
Yeah.
Doesn't know how to look for it, right? Yeah. But again, that could be a topic for Monday, but I'm just using AI. We haven't even talked about that. We're getting into that. But when we look at that, again, how can we further enable and help everybody go down that path? Mm-hmm. And even from the disposal, Deanna, what you were talking about, we had the whole disposal session. Yep. We just had tipped the iceberg on that.
And again, the biggest thing is putting it in correctly. And when you have systems that don't work correctly, or you don't want to let the vendor send you a feed, or if you don't have your API set up right, that's from the get. That's why I always look at the end first, because that tells me how well you're doing in the beginning. We're not.
Exactly, we're not. I like it. Yeah.
So.
And what I love about it is I used to sell that stuff back in my CompuCom days. I sell disposal services, et cetera. Okay, go pick it up and keep moving forward. I just kind of shrugged the shoulder, made it happen, because it was up to the customer to make that happen. But having the formalized process, because usually I had to talk them always through that. It's not hard, but people just overlook it and don't understand how to incorporate it. It's like, guys, that's where the fun is. That's where the magic happens. That's where you have closure, and you can finance things. You're a hero because you can tell them it's out of the system. You've just validated what they have for their write-offs, right?
And try to get it out of your CMDB. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
True.
But as we go through this, it's also about, gosh, I can't believe we're already 45 minutes into this. It's also what we have forthcoming, right? And that's what I'm loving about all these sessions, right? Because we've been talking about clear communications. We've even talked about that several times, even today, referencing it, right? And when you kind of understand that, also, what framework do you have in place? How are you moving forward, and how to look at that? And we're going to talk about some of the basic foundational activities, but the reason why we're going to do it is we're gonna how I love to do it. I don't know if anybody remembers how we used to do it in Peregrine. You kind of hit the request through receiving initially, some of the procurement. Then you have your operational activities, and then you have for kind of a reclamation through retirement. Roger Mallett, if you're here, great to see you, bud. It's been a long time since I've seen you in person. He published that. We used it for years. The reason why I like to simplify it down like that simple, and we can talk through it, and we'll probably use that for multiple sessions, is it makes it easier to consume.
Yeah.
I mean, I can draw a picture and drive you absolutely nuts, right? I think we all can. But at the same time, we have to get back to basics, because we're still helping enable others, how we communicate. That's part of that communication and knowledge sharing, right? We have. I'm not saying we don't have ISO. That's great. I have my own opinion on that one way or another. It's fine, but my opinion doesn't matter. It's about how you want to interpret yourself. That's the part that matters, right? Mm-hmm. So we've got some of those points. I'm just going about some output I actually printed just before this. The career strategy. I want you to come we're talking about job descriptions, et cetera. That's going to happen over the next month. We talked about that. Because we're going to go live for the next month. That's my commitment. We'll make that happen. What's your own strategy for it? What strategy do you want to put for your own career? And how do you adjust if something there's a hiccup? Because sometimes those hiccups are meant to be. Right. That's hard sometimes to swallow, but you put that in. What resources do you have to figure out, okay, how can you help yourself grow? Again, that's the movement. That's the community that I want to do more certifications. I want to be able to say, here's how I can survive in life, right? And also do that career development. Those are some of the outcomes. Next one, the framework of a project. How are you doing it within the organization? I want you to learn how to do that on your own. So as an example, I can go inside an organization and just with an executive, et cetera, I've done this for multiple companies over the years. There's a whiteboard. They said, okay, what's our strategy? I said, you tell me. They go, what do you mean? It's like, we're going to go through it together and we're going to figure this out. And they go, really? It's like, we're going to do it right now. Mm-hmm. I've had an entire wall that was painted to be a whiteboard, filled it. Yep. With about 20 people in the room, they go, that's it? It's like, now you see it. You guys, I facilitated the conversation. This is, your environment. I just said, here's what I typically see. It's like, yeah, it works. It doesn't work. That's what I need to know. I want everyone to be able to do that. Right? Because there's one thing to say, I learned how to turn a widget.
Yeah.
ServiceNow, Flexera, Tool of the Week, whomever. It could be Avanti. And again, they're all great tools if they meet your needs. It's a different level of maturity, how you look at it, and money, and all sorts of different facets. And we can talk about the whole value of that. That's actually a great discussion too. Yeah. Which tool fits you? That's actually extremely important too. I didn't think about that. Even like the RFP and how you evaluate customers, et cetera, like that. Again, more great topics we can bring in. I'm bringing this on the fly, right? There's nothing scripted on that. But when you start understanding how it all comes together, that's where you're providing value.
Yep.
You're going to say something, Rob?
Oh, no, just a thought. I was thinking about if we were to do a session, for instance, there's a couple of folks I'd like to bring in if we're going to discuss, let's say, if you're examining tools, for instance, within the ITAM space, right? There's a few people that I've worked with in the past that had tried to start projects, et cetera, and they went quite a ways with them. But there was always this need that was never fulfilled, and that is a tools matrix that also shows, from an ITAM perspective, what all of the features are and how those fold into all of the necessary workflows. So there again, that would be a really heavy session to prepare for. But I have a few people in mind that I would definitely want in on that.
There we go. And I love that. That's a great point on a couple of different facets. One, you're expanding the whole idea we just put out there, right?
Right.
Because you're right, you do need to work with those different facets. Number two, you're talking about bringing more people in to help collaborate and share information. That's what we're talking about. That's awesome, right? Put that in place. As Don just put out there, it's this a we effort. It's absolutely right. It's not a. I won't say the other part. There's something else just came to mind. I won't go there. But no, it's absolutely how can you put that and put it in place? And Don, you've actually been a great contributor here as well. Yeah. So don't want to do that. Data quality. How do you measure data quality? As an example, we could do an entire week on nothing talking about data quality. I mean, my mentor Scott Young, bless his heart, bless his soul, who passed on 2 years ago now. He was like the master of that stuff. You talk about, I saw him back in my GE days. He says, here's the whole metrics of how you're going to do it. It's like, oh my gosh. Gnat's eyelash. Now, there's going too far. I will say there's not, but there's also back to basics on how you do quality, how you're measuring it, how you look at it, how you calculate it. I think that's a great session we could talk to as an example. You get Jeremy back on, talk about digital twins. Yeah. Still working on the digital twin idea, but myself, but it's not saying I don't believe in it. It's just like, okay, how do you further talk with that? And the digital twin, how do you further work with that, right? Again, additional topics that we've already come up with that we've talked about in the last couple of weeks. That's great. How do you write a business case?
Yep. That's a good one too.
And there's some things out there a little bit, but here's what I want to do. I want to write one live.
Okay.
I want to write one live. It's probably going to take more than one session, but I want to write one live. We'll put a scenario together because that's the only way we're going to learn. Exactly. See, Rob's rubbing his hands together. So, okay. Because when you think about that, that's where the fun is. And now we have some different dynamics we're not going to be able to answer when you do business cases. We don't have the exact scenario with an environment, but we can do some mock one and do something like that. That's huge, right? Let's see. Stakeholder engagement. How you work with the communications. I thought of a different one. I wrote it down somewhere. Dealing with company politics.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm putting my toe into it on purpose, right? Because we deal with it in a couple different facets. We can do it on the inside. How do we deal with that? We can also deal as a consultant. How do we walk into it, right?
We can do role plays.
Well, exactly. We can talk about some of that. That might be more of a workshop activity, even off the IT. Because that's the other thing I'm thinking about is like, okay, we're going to have sessions that if you want to focus on that, we may just do something completely different offline with the ITAM kitchen and come back and share the results.
Yeah, that'd be good.
From working sessions like that, right? Actually, Curtis Paul has a good one. I laugh in a good way, right? What are some of the favorite books written that includes discussions about Ham and Sam service management processes? Absolutely. That's great. I'm a huge personal development guy. And when you talk about personal development and how we are able to better communicate on that side, it's not what that part was, what you're talking about there, Curtis Paul. But also it's like, okay, how can we grow individually as we're looking at this? Mm-hmm. How we deal with, keep in mind, I'm a 30-year practitioner. I burned out several times because that's all I was focused on. That didn't look out for me.
Yeah.
How often do you not look out for you because you're looking at the business side?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I'm trying to be inclusive on this. See what else in here. Action, future topics. Role definitions, we're going to talk about that. We're definitely going to see more of that in the near future. Because that was definitely. But what I'm enjoying is everyone's lighting up. So as you look at this, I just want to do a little bit of a summary as we wrap up the last 5 minutes here of today's session. This is what we've learned over the last couple of weeks. Just topics. Can you imagine we can do what's going to be over the next 20 days when we do this in February for the sky's the limit, right? And that's just the tip of the iceberg because the excitement, the momentum we see happening here, I would love for us to come together at some point in person for an in-person meeting and say, okay, we've got to build and learn, and here we're going to grow and thrive, because that's what we have today. We have folks dabbling in it. I'm just going to call it. We dabble in it, but we're not showing a lot of productivity. And that's the part that drives me crazy, because I am a Six Sigma guy, a GE guy. You guys see more productivity. How do you put it forward? And what I found is when we do, and you always hear like the ITAM summit. You've heard Sasha talk about it a couple of times. That's kind of how this all started, right? I actually have a conference I do every year in person. And actually, I'm working on it. It's going to be in August. I've got to get some paperwork done, then I'll do the formal announcement. But the whole idea behind it, we're there in person. And last time, Lou, we had a 3-day session because it was 2. It went to 3 last year. And even though it was a 3-day session, we had a whole another half a day. Everyone stayed around for additional topics we were talking about.
Yeah.
That's where you talk about lighting a fire. They lit my fire because everyone else's fire was lit in a good way. They wanted to learn, right? In collaboration. So as we finish out the closing for session for the moment, I just want to go over some of those topics because those are very important. And because not everyone's made for all roles, right? And when you look at, say, how we grow and how we thrive, how we continue to change, that's continual. Rob, any thoughts you have as we start wrapping up, and then Deanna, I'll come to you next.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'll keep it really brief. This is a great forum. It's just a starting point, but if you look at, like, to Bill's point, the world of ITAM, there's so much that still is yet to be explored and worked on. This is a wide open field. And I think that this would be a really great point, not to start off, but it's sort of a jumping off point, taking what we already know and now concentrating this as a community, to expand this and help to sell it.
Yeah. As the kitchen grows, we will get more information, pots and pans, a little bit better recipes going forward. Because right now we're looking at all our spices and we're looking at what are we going to put in the stew.
I like it.
And to Don Chaplin's point, to put the rest of Ham and Sam, they're not separate, because you can't have a piece of hardware without a piece of software on it in today's world. And that's why we as specialists have spent time in all these little areas. Like a magician with fingers in many pots. Sometimes we forget which one is hot. So we have to know how to level out our knowledge with the communication and negotiation with our clients. I think this is absolutely great.
Yeah. And there's another quote up here by Curtis Paul I want to show you as well. So, and I thought this was really good. I didn't mean to skip over it earlier, but I think it's great for closure, right? The process side of ITAM is what we should really be working on publicly. So I appreciate that thought there, right? So there's some truth to that. It's the biggest gray area for most management level folks. Simply don't know where to start and what's involved.
Yep.
Great point. And I'll go one step further. So you talk about most management level folks. Here's the secret. They really shouldn't care.
It's not their job.
They shouldn't be aware or not trust, but it's also trust the people to do it right. That's why they care today, is they're struggling with it, right? They don't know, back to your point, the legacy, right? So I just want to put that little nugget out in the little additional part. So Curtis Paul, you're dead on. Absolutely. We have to figure out things simple, because we could. Don Champlin was part of this back in my HP days. We made an entire process document. And it was really, really good. But what we found out of it, nobody wanted to use it. It was too detailed.
I'll take it.
But yeah, it was too detailed, and we were selling. That's what we were sold. With the other 27 processes for ITIL back in our HP software days, right? Because they were acquired by HP from our Peregrine days. But I say that not to say tongue in cheek, nobody cares. I say that tongue in cheek, that it depends upon the individual involved and what level we need to share with them. That's where the real skill is. Because when you determine that, And keep in mind, we all have gray hair for a reason. You may not see it too much of mine, but I'm there too. It's because we keep pushing forward, and we're getting older. But we also want to help mentor others, so some of the others out here don't have to go through the same pains.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, that's a bit over. I'm very good at that, actually. Appreciate it. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Deanna. Thanks, Sasha, wherever you are, and the ether out there. Appreciate everyone helped contribute today. Deanna, you and Rob are with me on Monday. We're going to talk about the job hunt and some tips and tricks in there, right? Yep. We're going to work on that on Monday. That will be the session. You'll see that published very shortly. And then I'm coming up with some additional topics for the entire month. So look for that. Because one thing I've learned with all this, it keeps me busy. It's nonstop. But
and there's value.
There's a lot of value on several fronts. And I'm loving every part of it. And I appreciate everyone's contributions, whether you're online in the chat, whether you're here in person. I appreciate all of you. Absolutely. Because this is what it's all about. Let's move that. Yeah. Let's wrap up. And you guys have yourself a great weekend, everybody out there.